Last week's exit polls showed that 93% of African Americans and 71% of Latinos voted for President Barack Obama. As the electorate becomes more and more diverse, clearly the Republican Party has a problem, a big problem. But that is an opportunity for African Americans who often feel the Democratic Party takes them for granted. How can we get the two parties competing for our vote? Well, we're talking about that with Michael Steele, the former chairman of the Republican National Committee and current MSNBC political analyst. Michael, welcome back to Washington Watch.
Good to be back, yeah, absolutely.
All right, this is interesting. So we've seen this week, Republicans say, man, we got to compete, 100% of the vote. Then Mitt Romney comes out and he's talking to the donors on a conference call, and he says, well, you know, President Obama gave these gifts to minorities and the health care to black folks and the DREAM Act for kids to Latinos and young people and women. And I'm sitting there going, that's probably not going to cut it.
No, it doesn't cut it. And in fact, I think you've already heard the likes of Governor Jindal, who's now the head of the RGA, Republican Governors Association, come out very clearly, without hesitation, say, that's just not where we are. That's not where we want to be. That space is now no longer viable for us. We're moving in a new direction. And I think it's about time the party does that. But this is my point. At the end of the day, there are two things that the party can do. One easy and one very hard. The easy thing for them to do is to go out and begin the connection to people, to go into neighborhoods that look like the ones we live in and grew up in, that go out there and engage the African-American community specifically. And I think historically that link is there to be reset. That's the easy part. You know what the hard part is? The hard part is actually wanting to do it. Actually wanting to do it. And for, you know, except for that period where I was chairman of the RNC, there has not been the will to do it. We funded the effort to $1 million a year. We went out, we created a national grassroots network that paid dividends for the party in electing Hispanics, African Americans, Asians, from the United States Congress to the state legislatures. That's what this whole effort, when you're engaging in communicate, yeah, you're going to get guys like you, say, okay, let's have a real conversation about how you guys look at us and how you deal with our issues. You're going to have to confront that. You can't run away from that. The black community expects you, if you want my vote, to engage that way. So we'll see what happens.
And to me, and it's not simply, well, let's go talk to black folks. I keep saying you got to listen to black folks. And I said it before, and since Republicans, they'll say, man, why'd you say on television that Republicans are scared of black people? I said, because it's very simple. Look, in this campaign.
Oh, you know, I got in trouble for saying that same thing. Right.
And of course, but the bottom line is, it's true.
It's
Republicans, most of y'all scared of black people. I mean, look what happened in this campaign. Mitt Romney goes to the NAACP. He gives a speech. So he buses in a couple of hundred supporters. After he gives his speech, and I'm there, after he gives his speech, they all leave. And then they go, now it's at the George Brown Convention Center in Houston, they go down this long hallway. The room they had set aside was way down the hallway, around the corner, so far away from the rest of the delegates. My deal was, if you wanted to engage, you have your supporters go to the back of the room and you stay there and talk to delegates.
Thank you.
Mitt Romney do the same thing. He gave one interview with a black media outlet the entire campaign. Black Enterprise. Now, I understand if you say, Mitt Romney, I'm not going to get a lot of black votes. I mean, I get it. But you gave one interview. So you made no effort.
Well, and let me tell you what the fallacy of that argument or that mindset is. So if I sit there and say, well, I'm not going to get Roland's vote, so therefore I'm not going to engage Roland, what I've effectively done is not just dismissed Roland, but dismissed everyone who would be looking at that interchange between the two of us. In other words, not just black folks who are behind Roland and in his community, but whites who are looking at how you deal on this issue. Because for a lot of particularly white women, how you deal on the race relation front is important to them.
And in fact, in 2000, one of the reasons that then Governor George W. Bush was able to appeal to suburban white women is because with compassionate conservatism, he wasn't perceived as being as belligerent as Newt Gingrich was when he was Speaker of the House, antagonistic to black folks. So white women said, Okay. Acceptable. Okay, cool.
Right.
How you treat other people.
Right.
I'm good with that.
Right, exactly. And that's the key that right there. How you treat other people. Because they have, even if it's an idealized view in their head, they have this idea in their head of how a politician, an elected official, should engage everyone. And so when you have the conversation about 47% of Americans, when you have as we heard this week, talking about, well, they just give away gifts. And
or the guy in Maine said, where did these black people come from? Oh my God, we don't even know black people.
We don't know black people.
But he played with a black guy, played basketball.
Right.
But now he's apologized for it. But again, that kind of stuff hurts the party.
I know Charlie, and I know where his heart is. But the mouth, can we connect the two? Okay, dude, connect the two. So, but that's it, man. I mean, I think look, it's what we talked about this vehicle here. And you and I've had this battle. We've had this conversation with my party. Come on this show.
I've been trying to get Rice previous.
You're talking to Black America. You're talking to all of America right here. This is, he's going to ask some tough questions because they're legitimate questions. Not going to, ask you questions you probably haven't even been asked before, right? So, but we don't engage. When I went out and I talked about hip hop Republicans and everybody went crazy. Oh my God. Well, I wasn't talking about, putting on bling and all of that crazy. I was talking about engaging where we are. That's part of our culture and experience. So let's get folks who can relate and identify with that. Let's talk about the Frank Sinatra side of our community. Let's talk about the diversity of black folk and understand what that is.
But also, I think it has to be also issue-driven, and that's because
key.
When people say, oh, reach out. No, it needs to be you talk to African Americans about entrepreneurship, you talk about education, you talk about housing. To me, it was ludicrous for Mitt Romney not to say 53% of black wealth has been wiped out due to the home foreclosure crisis. We got to fix the home foreclosure problem. To me, that's an easy one. And so it's not just reaching out just to say, oh, I want to hang out, but there are substantive issues. That's not welfare. That's not affirmative action, because that's the first thing that Republicans get scared about. Oh, no, I'm not supporting affirmative action. Oh, no.
Even though we created it. Art Fletcher, right?
Under President Richard Nixon.
That's right.
So yes, Republicans created affirmative action. But again, though, there are substantive issues that can be talked about.
Right. And I think that's the key thing, which is why going forward, and I think this is also an important lesson for the black community now to pay attention. 50,000 Hispanics turn 18 years old every month. All right. There's a growing community of Hispanic political, economic involvement in this country. How are we going to be positioned in this new landscape where you have both parties now no longer competing over our interests, whether they ignore us or take us for granted? That's not even an issue anymore. Indifference is the worst kind of sin for an individual in terms of politics. So if we become indifferent to our own existence politically, as others are growing and engaging in respect of their political interest, we are going to have a problem longer term as a black community, because they will assume the mantle of civil rights. They'll assume the mantle of economic empowerment, and we're going to be sitting there waiting for them to send crumbs our way. And I don't think that's a position the black community wants to be in. So I think this opportunity now is really important to wake up both parties and make them realize, look, we are a center of gravity here. And we have the ability to either help you win or make you lose. And I think that the more we play that to our advantage, the more our agenda gets addressed.
Last thing, Reince Priebus, you run the RNC.
Come on the show.
Come on the show.
Come on the show.
We'll have a good conversation.
What are you afraid of?
Come on the show.
Really
been inviting you for 10 months.
I know. He's a good man.
Been tweeting you.
That's right.
Come on. Come hang out with a brother.
It may even serve you breakfast. Come on, dude. Come on.
All right. Michael, we appreciate it.
You got it.